What's going on, nerds? I'm Thomas King, and I am here with Nate Powers.
What's up, guys?
What's going on? And we are here for our first episode of the Stix&Crits podcast.
I'm very excited to get this ball rolling. We have two amazing topics for you today. We're going to be treading into the controversial. We're going to be talking about why games journalism is going down the shitter.
Yep.
And we're also going to be talking about the resurgence of Dungeons and Dragons and just tabletop in general.
I wanna start off the podcast today just by saying that this podcast is gonna be 30 minutes D&D, 30 minutes video games, and we're gonna kind of broach whatever topics we feel are most interesting at the time. We're not pulling punches. This isn't some baby Molly coddling podcast.
No way.
It's not gonna be an echo chamber. We're going to speak what we feel is true, and we're going to use the facts.
Absolutely right. No agenda, completely objective.
Yeah, no bullshit here. No bullshit.
All right.
So let's jump into our first topic,
What topic are we doing first, Tom?
So I'm very hyped about the fact that our first topic is going to be why games media is in such a terrible place right now.
Yeah, it's kind of
It's just a shit. It's a shit show.
Yeah.
It's like, let's put it bluntly, it's a shit show.
I mean, I personally don't read too much into the whole into games journalism just because of there's just no substance out there for me. I'll read reviews is probably the most into it I'll go. I mean, I'll read like, it's only reviews I really read. I don't think I even read anything else.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't really read commentary on the gaming industry. I don't read commentary on like the culture of a particular game or a topic or any of that stuff because frankly, it's all just someone's opinion. It's not objective. It's not supported by facts.
Yeah, that's super true.
At least through my experience, and so it's really turned me off. And for people who aren't so heavily invested in the gaming journalism world, as a consumer, I look at it and I'm just really turned off. Now, I'm very harshly opinionated, and I think that
yeah, okay.
I think that other people who just want to boast their opinions, I don't like that. It's not conducive to the discussion that should be had, which is this good? Is this game good or not? Is it approaching social topics that we need to be talking about? Is it being innovative in its graphics and its storytelling and its gameplay mechanics and all that stuff?
Yeah.
And it's just about what was that one example? The hamsters with.
Okay, yeah. So there was one specifically I wanted to bring up today, and that was, and I have it right here on my phone because I have all this bullshit pulled up today.
Yeah, we had to
because I want everyone to know I went in and researched and I pulled stuff from the past and I found, what a surprise, a shitty article on Kotaku.
Right.
And it just has zero substance. I don't understand what this person was thinking when they wrote this, besides that it has Overwatch in the title and it's going to get clicks.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because it's Overwatch. So,
which, come on, guys.
Now,
have some integrity.
I want to start this off, though, with I don't know this person at all. I don't know them, the person that wrote the article whatsoever. But the article is titled, "Call Overwatch's Hamster Hammond, You Cowards." And just right there,
That already turns me.
we already have a problem here. We already have a problem.
You mean to tell me that you think you can get away with calling a bunch of 15-year-old edgelords cowards and think that's a good idea? Just take a step back.
Someone's like really taking this, just blowing it out of proportion, really.
Right.
So I'm gonna read to you guys a tiny little excerpt because I thought this was hilarious.
Okay.
This article made me laugh more than anything else.
Okay.
So,
well, I guess it's good for something then, huh?
Yeah, I guess. Hammond is one of the better hamster names in history, miles ahead of Squeaks, Furball, or whatever else children name their pets.
See, he's already wrong right there. Forgetting about my boy Hamtaro.
Oh my God.
Represent.
Despite this, the Overwatch team insists on officially calling the game's newest hero Wrecking Ball, a name that sounds more befitting of a G.I. Joe action figure or a good, in parentheses, fight me, but played out Miley Cyrus song.
I literally was about to make a Miley Cyrus joke, but he already took it from me.
But the point is, like, we're already off to a bad start. You're really going to sit here and argue about the name of a character because you have nothing else of value to give us?
Yeah,
I mean that's the only thing you could be doing right now.
Upset that they didn't use his hamster's name. and make it. And it
Hammond?
Yeah.
That's not even a great name for a hamster.
No, there's really.
But that's besides the point.
But yeah, and also, the name of something is super subjective. I mean, like, you can't sit there and say that a name is bad. I mean, a lot of people would turn around and tell me that my name is terrible, Nate Powers, which I happen to think it's pretty awesome, and you can shut the fuck up. But, you know, that's beside the point. It just holds no weight. I mean, the whole article goes on about just how the name. It's just all about this name. It's like I want to say that there's more to the article than that.
This seems like something that TMZ would publish.
Yeah,
like if they covered video games, this is TMZ to a T, and this is kind of the state of games journalism. This is why I wanted to
turning into paparazzi.
Yeah, I wanted to broach this topic because, especially with Kotaku and Polygon, there's been a lot of hit pieces. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of super political pieces that are getting into aspects of gaming that we don't need to get into.
Exactly. And there are a lot of really good journalists and writers out there.
Yeah, I mean, we have Colin Moriarty, who doesn't write anymore, but still.
Yeah,
Jim Sterling, Jason Schreier, like, these guys are all people that should be held to, and gaming journalism should be held to a higher standard because of these men.
Yeah, and these are the guys that are really on the forefront of pushing that agenda too. They're not in it for the lulz or the money.
No,
they're in it because they love this world that we're in. They love the gaming field, the gaming industry, and they want it to be better. And that's why they attack things like currency in games and EA's terribleness. Like just,
everybody goes after EA's terribleness.
Everybody does, but they go at it in a way that's very constructive, and it gets people talking in the discussion, and it really puts these developers in their place. But that's what's missing in bulk in journalism from what I've seen. And like I said before, I'm not as well versed as Tommy is. He has a lot more experience, but it just goes to show you that, and I'm not someone who doesn't like to read up on things. I read the news. I read other boring shit that doesn't interest me all the time, right? I'm in the film world. I read camera manuals. Like, if I can read that, if you can read a camera manual,
that's fucking boring.
You should be able to read anything.
That's really boring.
And I can't get into this stuff because of how just unequivocally unconstructive it is.
Yeah, and there's just nothing to it. Obviously this man did no research.
It's a man?
Yeah, it was yes, no, his name was Nathan.
Of course it was.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it was Nathan Grayson. And again, I have nothing against Nathan Grayson except for the fact that he wrote a shitty article that just has no value to the gaming community whatsoever. But I mean,
have other examples though, right?
I have no. I have tons.
Okay,
so
let's bring up another one.
The other one that really irked me, and I know that bothered a lot of people.
Hilarious.
That bothered a lot of people was an article from The Verge. It was a few days ago, July 2nd, exactly, by Andrew Webster. Now, Andrew says that Fortnite has the most interesting video game story in years.
Now,
I have no fucking words for this.
I will say, as someone who does not play Fortnite, I really was like, what fucking argument is he going to pull for this?
Now,
and it was not convincing at all.
Now,
it was clickbait.
Yeah, it was basically clickbait. But I mean, I'll give him one benefit. He said using the event of the rocket launch is a new narrative tool that's been presented. And sure, that's
for battleground games.
Yeah, for just in general, they're using something environmental in the game to tell a different story, but they're not really gonna be telling much of a story. It's more of an environmental change to the map, like the meteor hitting. But at the same time, has this man ever heard of The Last of Us?
Yeah, I mean, there's just,
has he heard of
Witcher,
Heavy Rain, The Witcher, or recently released Detroit Become Human?
Even Hollow Knight on Switch
has a better story.
Much better. I don't know if you've played. You've been playing it on Switch, right?
Yeah, I've been
played
playing
it on PC
Yeah.
as soon as it came out. That's hands down one of the better stories. I mean, there's so many indie games that aren't even popular.
There's no story in Fortnite.
Yeah,
there's no story in Fortnite.
Even Battlefield 1 has a better story. And that's saying something.
I would rather read the weapon descriptions in Bloodborne than concede the fact that Fortnite has a story.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. I don't understand. So, I mean, really, we could go on with this one, but I'd say go to The Verge, check out the article, and decide for yourselves. We're obviously sitting here.
And listen, these articles aren't poorly written.
No, they're not.
The writers have a very good grasp on the English language. Their grammar's good. Their ability to convey their feelings and their emotions.
Right.
It's really good writing.
But
it's just substance garbage.
And their execution on their ideas. Well, I don't even know because
they might not even be their ideas. It might just be what the developer or what the websites are telling them.
But this is clearly, once again, they're using Fortnite in the title. Mm-hmm. This is going to be clickbaity, obviously, just because it's Fortnite. Yeah. And then you're also stating that it has the most interesting video game story
in years.
Years.
Breath of the Wild. I mean, the list just is infinite.
Well, I mean, Breath of the Wild story is it's okay.
That story is really good. You're crazy, and it's much better than Fortnite.
The world. Well, obviously, yeah, but the world in Breath of the Wild is worthwhile. Yeah. That was worthwhile.
I don't know.
The story was good. It was solid. It was, you know.
You're crazy.
I'm not crazy.
It's not top 10 for me, obviously.
I'm not crazy.
It's not the best one in Legend of Zelda history.
So
more, right?
The other thing is, well, I just wanted to stop. Let's not go full on negativity. Yeah. So I went to Polygon earlier today to find an article that was shit because we all know Polygon's totally capable of doing this. And I've been scouring, and over the past couple of days, they've been just, normal gaming news.
Pumping out good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, not good, but it's, it's not.
It's objective.
Yeah, it's not clickbaity bullshit that just pulls in people for views, and there's no hit pieces, which was a total shock to me.
Yeah, and it's like you said, I've been on Polygon only a few times because Polygon's one of the heavy hitters when it comes to games.
Yeah, but they just to say stupid things.
Yeah, and usually I kind of throw them to the wayside. But when we were doing our research, I was very impressed.
Yeah, I mean, they even have an article which I actually read a little bit of. Was YouTube apologizes to LGBTQ creator for inappropriate ads and demonetization, and there's there's actual facts behind this. There's actual research behind this. Solid. Yeah, and I mean, again, shocked. I tell you.
Who wrote that one?
That was Julia Alexander.
Way to go,
Julia Alexander. Yeah.
You did something constructive.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it has some of the least comments on the website,
which is upsetting. I mean, that's like an example of someone trying to tackle a social topic that's very important in the world right now.
Right, and I mean, gaming,
and it should be more popular.
Gaming has evolved to a point where we're able to broach these subjects in gaming, like all these social aspects, everything from gay protagonists to civil rights and all that stuff.
Everything.
It's with the last few games that have just been released, you've seen all this stuff. Yeah,
there's such a huge dialogue on social.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they do, kind of hit it on the head a little much, but
right. But still, they're doing something.
Yeah, that's just David Cage being David Cage at that point.
You can't stop that train once it gets.
But I mean, this whole conversation stems from because this is the reason why we wanted to enter this realm was because games journalism is entering such a place that it's kind of becoming pointless almost.
It's honestly doing what video games did in the 80s as a whole, where they're just Okay, so you don't.
Yeah, okay, they're pumping. Yes, they're pumping it out.
All
okay.
This stuff just to make a buck or to get hits and to get that advertisement money rolling in, and they don't care what the consumer wants. And for a website, they're a little consequence free because it's a website. As long as they get that click, they get their advertising, and they get their sponsorships and all that stuff. As long as they're getting their daily hits. And so they're kind of I feel it's a bubble, right? It's like the housing bubble. You do something wrong long enough, it's just going to swell, and then it's going to pop, and then everyone's going to be out of a job. There's going to be strikes. There's going to be people not being able to get work. People are going to. I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean stuff like that. Like we know the big mega corporation websites, they're going to fall by the wayside because of things like YouTube, Twitch, and there's much more creative and constructive content out there than what they offer.
Or they're just going to move over to those kind of content.
Well, they have. Every one of them has a YouTube channel.
Yeah, they all
have
a Twitter,
they
Instagram.
have those high subscriptions, but they don't necessarily get those insane views
or likes.
Yeah, and not as much, and you don't see someone like IGN has some breaking news coming off of YouTube, or no, it's none of that.
And this isn't the kind of industry where bad publicity is good publicity.
Bad publicity is just bad publicity.
Just bad because if you're not saying things people want to hear, then they're not going to listen.
I believe it was like earlier this year and late last year where Polygon was just getting panned month after month for these atrocious articles that were dropping out. And even the way they went after EA, it felt more vindictive than anything else.
Right. Well, when it comes to EA, I give a lot of writers and developers a little slack because
they're shitty.
EA is pure evil. I mean, let's be honest. I'm not gonna bullshit you guys here. We all thinking it.
Evil association.
They're the EA empire. Right? Like, I mean, they're the equivalent of the U.S. government in video games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best example I can come up with.
Yeah, that's
so
for
whenever people are like swinging for the fences and trying to knock their heads off, I don't really mind that. They can be a little more subjective if they want. But, that's an exception to the rule.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%.
My favorite EA, the enemy of EA, as I like to call them, is Colin Moriarty. Or not Colin Moriarty, I'm sorry.
Jim Sterling. Jim Sterling hates them.
God, he hates them with righteous conviction that gets me.
I love it. But he comes out with, see, there's the difference, right? There's the difference right there. Is Jim Sterling, he does his research on every single level.
Yeah, to the fucking.
He will go from CEOs to what their release patterns were and just pick them apart because he's a journalist. Yep. And what journalists do is you sit down and you research. Like, I remember, for example, I'll give you one of my personal examples. It was before Skyrim Remastered got announced. It was about 2 months before E3, right before they announced it, and I stayed up for like a 38-hour period. And I was just rummaging through articles of Todd Howard being interviewed and Pete Hines being interviewed. And back when I was on Up Down, when I was on Up Down, I wrote a piece stating that all of this stuff coming together, this culmination of Fallout 4 being a build off of Skyrim being ported, and all these interviews between all these people saying that Skyrim Remastered will be announced at E3. And fucking lo and behold, I was right because I did my research. Yeah. If I didn't take the time and I just said a whole bunch of garbage.
So what you're saying is you did your job.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I did my job. And you.
Thank you, whoever the fuck is at my house. Oh, hey, Tom. What's up, Sean?
It's just that.
I'm backed up. All right,
so it's just that most people don't want to put in the time or the effort. They just want to kind of jump in, and because they're playing video games and they're doing something they love, which I totally get. Everyone wants to do that.
They're knowledgeable about
they think that they can back up their bullshit, which they can't. So, I mean, unfortunately, it's become. I really don't want to use this term, but it's true. It's like a virus in this industry right now. And that's the whole reason we went down this path with Stix&Crits. Yeah. And that's why the first podcast is us tearing into journalism, is because as a journalist myself, someone who's been doing this for a few years now, and with some of the other friends that I know in the industry, nobody's happy with how this is proceeding.
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
So, I mean, things need to change. And if the big corporations don't change it, and if they don't handle it themselves, it's going to be taken upon a lot of the smaller journalists coming together and creating projects that they're passionate about and that they're knowledgeable about.
New companies coming up and just outdoing them.
Yeah.
I mean, like it wasn't so long ago that it was just too big. Like, let's switch over and use just video game content as an example.
Right.
It wasn't long ago when there was only like two big companies. Two big websites that were putting it out. You had beginning of popularity on the internet, you had like Newsgrounds with video content and gaming stuff. Like, you had sites like that, and then Geek and Sundry doesn't really do video games, but like Giant Bomb and like all these other companies that aren't even really that huge in the business have overshadowed them completely. Well,
the reason Giant Bomb did it is because they were a bunch of people that were treated poorly in the industry. Like, Jeff Gershman was tossed aside because he reviewed a game that his company was being sponsored by. Yeah. And he did not like the game. So he, spoke the truth, and he was thrown aside like fucking 2-day-old garbage. Man. And then Giant Bomb came along, and lo and behold, Jeff Gershman's doing better than he ever was before. Yeah. So, I mean, like...
It happens.
Yeah, but I mean, the patterns are going to show. Like, Jim Sterling, same thing. He's gone on. He's successful. Colin Moriarty. I mean, he wasn't. He left IGN.
Yeah.
Like that was amicable.
And, yeah, they weren't. He wasn't like doing shit that he didn't want.
No,
to
but
either.
he was the best writer by far on
far.
IGN. Like, and one of the best writers that they've had in a very long time. And probably they won't ever.
One as good.
Yeah, no,
Not even
no,
close.
no. It's like there's been shades.
I remember reading Colin Moriarty articles from my IGN subscription when I was in college.
Yeah.
It's stuck around. He's someone that's really like as someone who doesn't know it at all. Him and Jim Sterling are like the only two guys I know, and it's because they have that impact because they're doing it such a pure form of journalism that just it isn't even being done in any form of journalism. Like let's be real, media outlets just in this day and age are so skewed to make you either think a certain thing or for them just to get views and likes.
Right, to push an agenda.
Yeah, an agenda. It's just it's not pure. It's not what we're supposed to be getting. It's not substance. It's like carbs. You just shovel that shit in your mouth and you get fat off stupidity.
Yeah, basically that's exactly what it is. I like that.
Grow.
Keep that one around.
Well, I mean,
shovel that shit in like carbs and get fat off of stupidity.
I've been known to say a witty thing or two in my day.
Have you? Is that the only thing for the next few months?
Yeah, exactly. You won't get one for. It's like that one old Vine where it's like when a dumb person says something that's actually smart. I can't remember the example. Like
a broken clock is right. What, twice a day, once a day, twice a day. It's like that one.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's really the reason why we wanted to approach this, especially as our first podcast.
And we would like to just ask anyone who's in the industry or coming up into the industry, just be true to yourself. Don't try to fit into trends and agendas and any of these things that are short-lived, because you might get that initial boost, you might get those clicks, you might get those likes, those shares, those subscriptions, all that stuff off the bat, but is it going to hold fruit? Jackie Chan, one of the greatest filmmakers and stunt actors of our time, of film history, really. He has one of the most amazing quotes, and I think it applies to everything in life. He says about Western filmmaking, he says, "It never made sense to me why they would worry about the money and the budget of something that's going to last forever. This is your work. This is like part of your soul." And I'm not quoting him word for word here.
Yeah.
But this is part of your soul. So why would you cheat it? Why would you short yourself the greatness that you can create just to save a couple bucks? And he was notorious for blowing his budgets out of the water. He would do like 127 takes on one stunt for the day. Like they'd be working 30 hours on one scene.
That's Jackie Chan, Jesus.
But his choreography and the scenes that he created, they will last forever.
Yeah, and they're amazing to watch.
They're amazing to watch, and they set the standard of what everyone else needs to be doing. And people really cannot keep up to that because of what the industry standard has become.
Wow, there you go. Follow Jackie Chan's advice.
He's a smart.
Follow your dreams. Do it the right way.
I can trust someone who's broken every bone in their body.
Yeah, for real.
And still has a good attitude about it.
Who's been thrown through glass pane windows
He's
and
died like 6 times.
at least. It had to be more at this point.
And he fought Bruce Lee, so there's that.
Oh shit, yeah.
The first movie he was ever in was a Bruce Lee movie.
Yeah.
He broke his arm by accident. I'm pretty sure that might be false. Let me know in the comments whether that's
yeah. Tell Nathan he's wrong.
Because I love being told that I'm wrong, so I'm not wrong again.
Oh boy.
Do you want to switch gears? I think we ripped this topic apart.
I think so. Yeah. I think it's pretty much done.
So
Torn to
we're gonna
shreds.
take a break. We're gonna have a quick word from our sponsors. Our lovely friends at rollforitdice.com.
Roll for it, baby.
They're a wonderful startup in New Jersey.
Yeah, they're in Jersey. I don't think that's. They're in Jersey.
They're in Jersey. They had the brilliant idea to do a monthly subscription for dice miniatures and little trinkets. So we have a little promo spot we're going to show or a sponsorship spot we're going to show for them, and we're going to move on to the next topic.
Yeah, boy.
I did not roll.
That was a 2. That was a shitty 2. Rollfortdice.com is a monthly subscription where you can pick up tons of dice, miniatures, even some Legos, and the great little trinkets that they supply you monthly. Look at that sexiness. These guys came up with a brilliant idea to get people on a monthly subscription. So instead of going around perusing at stores, having to interact with human beings, you can just pick them up on their Patreon. And it's lovely. You can get 4 sets. You can get minis. They just supply you with everything you need.
I get kind of sick of going online to Etsy and trying to find specific users and everything, but they have it all right there on their website. And it's great to have that.
So don't forget to check out rollforitdice.com and their accompanying Patreon. All the links will be down below.
Welcome back from the break, guys. Thanks for taking a look at our sponsor. So now, Tommy.
Yes, sir.
We're going to be getting into my field of discussion. We're going to be talking about the resurgence of tabletop gaming and Dungeons and Dragons and how it's impacting the culture.
Yeah. It's pretty big right now.
I would say.
The past few years have been very big for D&D specifically.
Mm-hmm.
It's more ingrained in the mainstream. Gamers from all over the world are taking a look at it. They're really interested in it now. And you can kind of see with people like Vin Diesel, and Stephen Colbert, Joel Magniello, like all these people getting into it and saying that they play it.
Even people like Ashley Johnson, Nathan Fillion, people who are already ingrained in the nerd culture just in general, becoming more public about it. So
and they all play D&D.
Every single one of them.
They all play D&D
in some form or fashion.
And it's even getting mentioned in like we were talking earlier, like Stranger Things, Community.
Yep.
Had an episode about D&D.
Wet Hot American Summer. It was a pretty popular movie and show on Netflix.
So I mean, like it's getting everywhere. It's like a virus right now.
Oh yeah, it's been so explosive. Probably I'd say the past 5 years. It's kind of really taken off.
It really started picking up like in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
It's so I mean it's Critical Role, like Drunks and Dragons, Acquisitions Inc., like
High Rollers,
all
those guys.
They're in the top of everything right now.
Yeah, what was it? 5 of the top 25 podcasts in America and Canada are D&D podcasts?
Yeah.
On iTunes. On iTunes, anyway.
So in the UK specifically, High Rollers and Critical Role are 2 and 3.
Yeah, which is crazy. Behind...
it's behind Colin Moriarty's new podcast, Sacred Symbols, which is awesome.
Which is a fantastic podcast.
Colin Moriarty, of course, is going to be great. Then here it's, we got numbers 3 and 4.
It was like 4, 7, 20, and 25.
Yeah, and then overall the top 25 is just littered with D&D podcasts.
Yeah, so that really speaks volumes to how the audience is picking it up. Yeah. And really, I'm not someone who listens to a lot of podcasts. I would rather watch like a video format of it because I like watching them roll the dice and I like the cuts, and I'm a video guy, so like that's just my world.
Yeah, you get into it.
But the idea of listening to a podcast like on a long drive or going to and from work, like that's awesome. It's such a convenient way to entertain yourself with some good old fashioned fun.
And it's 2 separate things. It's 2 totally completely different things. Mm-hmm. Like one, you have the visual representation of everything, so you're getting all that feedback, and then
everything else is theater of the mind.
Theater of the mind.
Yeah.
So you're going old school D&D right there.
Yeah. So
you people that have like creative and insane minds, you really enjoy those podcasts.
And I think it's being very well represented. I think WotC has done a really good job at handling the publicity lately. They've been putting out a lot of good stuff. They've been trying to make the game accessible for everyone, which is kind of the whole heart of the game. It's do whatever you want with whoever you want, and as long as you're having fun, that's the beauty of it.
Right.
I think so kudos to them. They've been just knocking it out of the park, and everyone has the 4th edition woes.
I always heard about that.
Well, 4th edition. Let's be honest. 4th edition sucked. I don't think I played a character over level 5.
First.
Yeah, like the system was just, it was too video gamey, which I think is what turned most people off.
Okay.
First of all, the system wasn't that fun. They turned everything into like a power. So like spells weren't even a thing. It was so clunky and weird. Then they like oversimplified the skills, and they took a bad turn. But 5th edition really like stepped up and blew it out of the park. That's why one of the big reasons I think that Dungeons and Dragons in particular has become so popular is before 4th edition was 3.5. Through 3rd edition and 3.5. And that is a very intimidating system to get into. It's very number crunchy. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of min-maxing. There's feats out the ass. just in the player's handbook. That's not even including all the Dungeons and Dragons magazines that are putting out a new feat or 2 feats every month for their magazine.
There would be new feats monthly?
Yes. So they don't do
crazy.
Dungeon or Dragon magazine anymore. I don't think. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But Dragon magazine, they would come out during 3rd and 3.5 edition. They would come out with new feats, spells every month.
That's insane.
So
that's a lot to
on top of the core stuff and all the expansion stuff. Now you have a monthly subscription that's giving you the edge. We had one of my games I fondly remember. A good friend of mine, Neil. He was playing a rogue or something, and he got an item. Purchased an item that's in one of these books because they would also do items it was everything. It was like a mini expansion that you got every month, which was pretty cool. It was I can't even remember the name of it. Some little seed that grows into a tree, and he would reverse pickpocket it into people's enemies' bodies and then trigger it and grow a fucking tree inside.
That's awesome.
Really silly stuff, right? But that's just the kind of
that's like some Elder Scrolls shit.
That's the expanse of what the edition was before. So then they were trying to shape it again. They were like, okay, we want to simplify it because we want to up our numbers. We want to try to get more people involved in the game because
that's what you always do.
At that point, it was still not a very profitable game. They were making their money because their fan base is so loyal and it has been around for a long time. But they want, obviously, any business is trying to up their numbers and make their sales higher and all that stuff. So they tried to make a simpler system, something that would appeal to the rest of the young culture who is hooked on World of Warcraft and all those other kinds of games. And they really kind of hit a dud. But then 5th edition is the perfect marriage of the two ideas. Give them the role play system while making the mechanics kind of light and easy to make the game as full on of an experience as it should be.
Right.
So 5th edition, I think, has been doing really well. Obviously, I have my own personal quirks about it, things I don't like, things I do like. But I think that's the driving force for 5th edition being so great. They took 4th edition, they messed up, they learned from it, they regrouped, and have been going forward. That coupled along with the huge social acceptance of it, Dungeons and Dragons and just tabletop in general shedding its stigma for years.
That's important. That's super important.
Super important to its growth.
Back in the 70s and 80s, everyone was like, "Oh, this is the devil shit."
Yeah, because it was wizards and dark magic and demons running around, and it was a time of stricter media, so people just weren't informed.
But that was super important. Just for D&D itself, because we said it before, you rip apart that stigma, you break that down, and then there was still a stigma from gamers, from video game people.
Oh yeah,
people
absolutely.
that were interested in video games. All these gamers looked at it's like we always say, I'm a nerd, not that much of a nerd.
Exactly.
And that's even how I looked at D&D before I started playing.
Yeah, and it's very. It's kind of what the hobby has been doing overall, is breaking down groups and barriers that separate us. Because there's always going to be a group who thinks they're better than the group below them or equal to them. Whatever they really are to each other, there's always going to be those fucking edgelord pieces of shit that want to shit on your parade for doing your thing and having fun. And Dungeons & Dragons and tabletop, and just in general, really breaks that stigma just by the very nature of the game. It's a very social game.
Yeah.
It's very much a creative game. You can do what you want in it, and as long as everybody at the table's cool with it, it's kosher. I think that's important to the social progression of gaming as a whole. It really teaches you patience and understanding and all kinds of things. So I think that aspect of the game also helps push the popularity of it, because there's really nothing bad you can say about it, why wouldn't everybody want to play it? You spend $60 on the core rule books, and that's all you need to get started and playing. You're just rolling dice. It's free fun at that point.
The starter set's $20.
Yeah. So
it gives you a starting module to play.
Yeah, and you have these memories with this group of people that will last you a lifetime. I mean, I still have conversations with my original Dungeons and Dragons group about all of the crazy times. I don't even remember the names of their characters. I would DM because I'm very particular and I like my rules. So I was always the guy who ran the games. But I just love.
You are very particular.
I am. Well,
you are.
In my business, you have to be.
Yeah, of course.
But no, they're just memories that will stick with me forever, and they're friendships that will never, they're bonds that won't be broken. Really, I'll always have those good times.
Yeah, that's one of the positive things to D&D now. So it's like you said, it's breaking down those barriers. It's allowing people to kind of come in from all walks of life and hang out with people that they probably would never hang out with otherwise.
Absolutely.
Like the first example of this I can remember is when I first started playing. I saw Critical Role and Kind of Funny.
Right.
Which was fucking weird to me because I'm like, why are they playing D&D?
Yeah.
This is about video games. And it kind of opened a whole bunch of gamers' eyes to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Like, we had always known what it was, kind of, but we'd always had that idea that, no, we're not going to play this because it's too far.
This is too far.
But then when you see it, it's like, this is awesome. Like you said, it breaks down those walls, and now there's a rush of gamers coming into D&D.
Exactly. People fear what they don't understand, but once you get to, don't knock it till you try it. Once you try it, you probably like it.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
I mean, and listen, gaming isn't for everybody. There are just people who aren't into it, who don't get it, who never understand it. But I don't think anybody who has played a tabletop or role-playing game can say that it's a bad thing. Once they've experienced, like, it might not be for them, but I don't think after that experience they can turn around and say that you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, how could you say that?
You couldn't. It's good. It's just good fun.
Literally doesn't affect you at all.
No,
Like
you wasted 4 hours.
That's it. Oh, big fucking deal.
Yeah.
Cry me a river. People waste more time in fucking relationships and shitty jobs.
So that's one of the major points. One of the major driving forces of its popularity. Another one that I have noticed and seen through my research is that the film industry itself and television has been a huge part in creating its popularity.
Oh, yeah.
You have all of these actors that use it as a playground to foster their abilities to act, right, and to write,
Yeah,
to
they
delve into
workshop their
stories,
tools and stuff.
become method, like all of that stuff. And you have, obviously we mentioned before, Steve Colbert, Vin Diesel, Joe Manganiello, all these actors, and that's just the ones that are really popular. I mean, I just watched the stream of Many Eyes a few weeks ago. The Big Show was on it. The Big Show plays.
Oh yeah, the Big Show
was playing D&D second edition. So like,
see, that's another good point that you bring him up. He's super ingrained in the Destiny community.
Yeah,
and now he's going to be ingrained in D&D.
So all of these actors and Hollywood people and people in the entertainment business who have been doing this hobby for a long time and just kind of been keeping it back because of its stigmas, are coming out, and they're really just blowing up the popularity with the publicity because everybody knows the Big Show. Everybody knows Steve Colbert. Everybody knows Vin Diesel. Everybody knows these people already. So that's only going to, exasperate the numbers of people who are going to want to watch it. So I think that's probably the second, if not biggest, reason of D&D's explosive popularity.
Yeah, I mean,
lately.
that, again, like, we talked about the stigma. We talk about these celebrities. Like, actors use it. I forget, there was a certain director that said he uses it. He plays it to kind of work his stories. So he runs through his stories on a D&D game. I forget who it was. I'm going to look it up later. But that was, like, super cool to me. Only because not only is it fun to do, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because there's, like, as a DM, like, I found the longer I DM'd, the better I got with story elements. And using specific tools and all that.
Because you're doing it. It gives you an avenue to actually practice and do the stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's hard sitting down in front of a computer screen and just try to write something. Like, it's not engaging. It's not fun. It's work. You know what I mean?
That depends on the person.
It depends on the person, but not as many people.
I find that super fun. I could sit down and write stories.
I'm too impatient for that. I'm very hyperactive and need to be doing stuff.
I like building a world and then like creating these characters and
no,
slowly
for
breaking
DMing,
them down.
Absolutely.
No, but I'm saying even.
But when it comes to writing a script or an original story, I have a hard time doing it. But this gives me a way for me to cultivate my writing abilities and create my style and help me figure out what kind of plot devices I like to use and what sort of characters I like bringing up and using. It helps you with voice acting. I mean, how many voices have you heard me do while running your games?
A lot.
And I'm not a voice actor at all, but I feel like just from playing this game, I have at least 4 accents that I can do very well. And if I'm in a bar drinking with someone, I can trick them.
Do them now.
I'm not. No, I gotta hold them back. Gotta hold it back. Gotta keep that in my back pocket for later. You can't just throw your load out to the wind first day, Tom.
Why? That's fun.
Because that's how you blow up too fast and then never make money again. Which is what D&D is not doing. They had been not making a lot of money for a long time, and now they're making a shit ton of money.
I mean, they're not making a shit ton, but they're getting
No,
there.
hold on. First of all, I'm gonna say that they are making a lot more money than they have ever made. Not just because of
obviously,
because of the sales numbers alone, but because of what they're doing. They're smart. Things like D&D Beyond, a digital platform where they can sell their product for half price, but it's basically nothing. You make one PDF and you just sell it. So people who already have the collection are buying it again because of the tool that they've created.
Yeah.
So, but that's nowhere near as much as it costs to do art for a book.
That's true.
Or print the book.
That's very
they
true.
already have all of this stuff, so they're just doubling them. They basically doubled their
They're
money.
they're in a position. They're doing the right thing as a business, which is cutting costs.
Absolutely.
Right? It's cutting, and the thing about that is they can slow production on the physical stuff, but people are still going to buy both.
Yeah, people still want the collections, and really, that's Hasbro's kind of doing.
Yeah.
Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, so they kind of have a tight grip on how they're running their business, and the D&D department has always been kind of short-ended because Magic is Hasbro's moneymaker in that ownership.
Right.
Magic makes a shit ton of money, just selling their product and with all the GPs and everything like that. So they really have had a limited, not very limited, but they've been limited in what they've been able to do. But now that the popularity is increasing, their sales are higher than they've ever been.
Yeah, I mean D&D and other tabletop RPGs are kind of closing the gap on hobby board games, dice games, card games.
But even with their success, you have the regular tabletop games, dice and card games are also at an all-time high. We were looking at the numbers when we were researching for the show.
I have them here because I always like presenting my numbers.
Yes.
I always you do the right thing, guys. You always research. So, because I really like showing off numbers. And this is super important to show the kind of growth of tabletop games and everything that comes with it. So these are numbers, these are older numbers, but this is just to show trends. And these trends have continued
For at least the past 5 years.
Yeah, so in 2016, right, it was said that the hobby games market netted over $1.4 billion.
Right. That's insane.
Yeah, which is the first time it's ever done that.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That's a tenth of our debt.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, that's
more. That's
trillions.
It's way higher than that actually. Anyways, but the numbers that are the best thing, the best part about these numbers is that every year
it's getting higher.
It's a 30% increase year over year.
Yep.
And
the percentage is increasing too.
Yeah, and that's only increased.
Yeah.
And like for example, so they said like role playing games, D&D. They're making over 45 million a year.
Yeah.
Which is
bonkers.
They've never gotten that close.
There's only really 4 big publishers of role playing games. There's Wizards of the Coast, and then you have like White Wolf. You have I don't even remember the names of them. Because there's so few, and then you have all these little guys. But they're all just making bank.
Yeah, and again, these numbers don't represent what happened towards the end of 2016 or into 2017 when we know everything got way more popular.
And that also doesn't take into account other businesses that do things like dice trays, dice, just making dice towers, portfolios for your characters, all of the Etsy shit that's being mass produced by actual companies that make this stuff. They're making bank too because everyone needs their accessories.
Chessex is making a shit ton of money right now.
Absolutely.
With all that, they supply most of my dice.
And then you have like Dwarven Forge, right? Dwarven Forge.
Yeah, Dwarven Forge is insane.
Great, fantastic guy. He's a wonderful artist, and I don't know if you've seen Dwarvenaut. It's the documentary about Dwarven.
Oh no, I haven't.
It's on Netflix, and
it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was a Netflix original. But he lives in Brooklyn, and this guy has just been slamming out these awesome tabletop settings, and he's just doing more and more. And he has a panel with Wizards of the Coast every year now, and he's basically partnered with them, if not actually partnered with them. And so you have those companies.
Yeah.
Spewing out all this product, making a lot of money, and that's just feeding the hobby even more. Because why, at this point, why play D&D without 10 sets of dice and maps?
10,
and
that's low.
Yeah, I know. I think I have at least 20 sets of dice.
Like they're making a shit ton of money, and especially right now, the market's hungry for all of this. There's more players by the day. They have more opportunities to make more money.
And it's just growing and growing and growing.
And it's good. I think it's good because there's not really a negative thing I could say about. I mean, sure, you got to play for like 6 hours.
Well, and
but even the amount of time, like the amount of time that you do that, the amount of time that D&D consumes, I still think it's positive.
Yeah, it's definitely all positives. There's negatives to everything. Like, I think since it is such a social game, it can create drama among friends, right?
Yeah,
of
course.
Like, the old saying, like, never room with your best friend because you won't be friends anymore.
Right.
That can happen in D&D and tabletop. I've seen it happen. Somebody gets like a crazy idea in their head of how they want to play their character, and they're all hung up on it, and they don't think of the group. People who are inexperienced in how that kind of game works, because when you're new, one of the biggest things that you don't realize is how invested in the characters that everyone else is. You might think you're very invested and you might be thinking about yourself, but you almost have to think of the other characters and the DM's story as if they were actual people, because there are actual people running it.
Yeah.
So that can be a negative. You can have people, I've seen the situation where like someone brings their significant other in the game and they're kind of like, giving them all the good stuff. Like just basic social dysfunctional things
favoritism
can be imported into the game and ruin the game for people.
Well, yeah, of course.
So, but that's basically user error.
That speaks more to us than it does the game itself.
So, but I do think that over time, this hobby is slowly figuring out for people how to solve those kinds of problems. People who are maybe not good with social interaction are learning these basic social lessons through their gaming. Yeah,
you can learn a ton of social skills.
Yeah,
just on here.
And then and through the act of the role playing itself, you can learn by exploration of thought. How other walks of life might live. Like, say I play, like, the character I'm playing in our game is a woman. Now, I have 4 sisters.
Just hilarious.
I have three sisters and a younger sibling, and so I think I know women, right? Because I've grown up with them my whole life. They were running crazy in my household. But it's different when you're sitting there and you're like, how would this woman react in this feudal world with high magic, doing all these crazy things? And that's a very minor example. Like, you could play someone who's a homosexual, or someone who's of a race that is seen lesser as, or all these different things, or vice versa. If you feel like you've been oppressed and subjugated, you could play someone who's of high society. You're filling out a fantasy, but you're also teaching yourself, how you could react and how you should react, and how to treat people through a safe playground that's not really going to affect anything except for your good time.
Yeah, that's it.
So I think that's the strongest element, the most good that comes from this game, and I think that's why it's so enticing.
You get to be put into someone else's shoes, look through someone else's eyes,
exactly,
experience something you've never experienced before,
and you couldn't have experienced it unless you did something like that. And like the only other avenues to do things like that is like writing or acting or another art medium that's kind of difficult to get into because it's intimidating. I couldn't go in onto set and be an actor. Even as a filmmaker, someone who understands the whole film process, and I've seen a lot of acting, I could never walk onto set and be an actor. I just couldn't do it. It's different when I'm here and I'm being myself.
I can do it.
Yeah, I'm sure you think you can do anything. But
duh, and/or hello.
That's trademarked. We can't say that.
It's not trademarked.
I thought it was. Anyway, but no, or when it comes to writing, I like to think I'm a good writer, but I don't practice it enough. And so for people who are less confident than me or not confident at all when it comes to coming into something like that, D&D gives you the avenue to explore those things. Yeah,
and it gives you all the tools you need to succeed there, and you can work on everything. Absolutely. That's why I think it's the best. You're so like even with a movie, right? You take a character and you shoot for a few years and that's it, right? But at D&D, you could be with one character forever
for
multiple
20
characters.
Years.
Like, you just learn how to live in that world, how to live in certain situations as a certain person from a certain place, and
you even learn how they grow as a person, and you can tell, and that shows you how to grow as a person through life experiences. So anyway, I think once tabletop shed its stigmas in pop culture, it had all of these actors and film associated people who have been playing it for years finally come to light and give it the sponsorship it needed. You have the Wizards of the Coast leading the forefront with their innovation in systems,
right?
And you have the plethora of faithful fans to support those frameworks and structures, to be able to keep the game going and to tell all their friends and really bring it all together. I think you couple all of that with, media being as broad and outreaching as it's ever been in history, and just the ability to create product at a very cheap rate. It's just it was a perfect storm for tabletop and Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop dice and card games just in general. I was looking at when we took our break, I was looking at Fantasy Flight game sales from the past 5 years because I wanted to see how it compared, and they're at about 20-25% increase in sales every year.
That's crazy.
And Fantasy Flights is one of the bigger ones. So that and like I like Fantasy Flight board games. They've made a few of my favorite games, but they're not even my favorite board games. You have things like Betrayal of the House on the Hill and Stone Age and Scythe.
This is fucking Chinese.
Yeah, these are all like classic games that are made by other publishers that aren't even the biggest ones. At least in my research and my experience, I'm sure they're popular in their own right in that world. I still am learning more about that world.
Right.
The more I'm getting into this.
Well, yeah, I mean it's all a learning experience.
But everyone's reaping the benefits because you sit down, you play D&D, and then you watch all these other people play D&D, and it's like, well, what else is there? You get curious. You want to go out in there. You can play any of these intense board games. These there's.
We're gonna play one soon, right? What was the name of it?
Oh yeah, I just got Dead of Winter and Legends of Andor. Legends of Andor I haven't played yet, but
Legends of Andor looks sick.
It looks really cool. That's like kind of like a RPG puzzle game. But I just I like puzzles. So anyway, so it's just the whole hobby of tabletop in general is just riding the piggyback of D&D, and honestly, I'm really happy for it because I'm tired. I was tired of being the lowest level of nerd for the longest time, and now it's cool again, and it always was cool. The thing is, it always was.
You guys were secretly the highest form.
Yeah, exactly. We're the hipsters.
It's the most expressive form.
Yeah, it's the truest form.
It's dope, man.
It's the truest form of gaming. I mean, video games. Most video games are, at least RPGs, still use a D20 system.
Yeah, mechanic. they still use it for drop rates and all that shit.
It all comes from that. And there's that system.
And there's still not like when I try to compare it to video games and try to tell people, video games have been chasing this this decision of giving the player choice for years.
For agency, exactly.
Years.
Sandbox games.
Yeah, but there's
RPGs.
there's no video game now, nor can I see one in the near future that will come along and give you the ability to have choice like you have in a D&D game.
Exactly, because the only limitation in a tabletop game is yourself.
Yeah.
And that's
not the game. Not the game. It's you.
Because you can always homebrew something.
Yeah. And
well, guys, thanks for tuning in. I think that really sums up.
Yeah, I think that wraps us up.
Everything
we love D&D. We're fucking nerds. You get it.
Yeah. So come and be losers with us. This has been the Stix&Crits podcast. I'm Nate Powers.
I am Thomas King.
And we'll see you next week.
Roll for it, baby. Woo!
Every time.
A fucking natural. I'm leaving.
A drastic change from last week.
Yeah, I quit.